So since the feminine energy has been so suppressed for so many decades, I would say the beginning of times, because even in the beginning scriptures of the Bible, it explains how the feminine energy was an extension for the masculine energy. And since the feminine energy has been so suppressed, what energy has been ruling this entire world today? And that is the masculine energy. But the thing is, the masculine energy is not in its divine source. So really what we've been ruled by is the toxic masculinity, which is the cause of the corruption, the war, the greed, the hatred, the lies, the overusage of one another and things. And what this really stems from is the fatherly wound. Now, today's episode, we're going to dive into what is the father wound? Where does it come from? What is the reason behind the corruption today, and how we can heal it? So as a collective, not only that men hold the masculine energy, every single gender on this planet holds feminine and masculine energy. But when we could get to the root of understanding our own fatherly wound, we'll be able to heal our masculine energy to the point we are no longer controlling anything. We're allowing ourselves to finally surrender so we can be and receive and give the way we are meant to be. My dad used to do that on my shoulder all the time. What a dick. Ain't that dad's for you? But we're going to get a different perspective on the father today, which I'm very excited to talk about. Before we get into that, beautiful beings, welcome back, AwakenOnes. Another episode on Embracing the Central Series with your homegirl, Brittany Fontanez. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I am an intuitive healer. I am a psychic tarot reader. On this channel, I speak about spiritual development, emotional awareness. I do guided readings for each zodiac sign, and I talk about things I feel need to be talked about because it's our divine right to know more than what we've been told. Why am I out of breath? I've been lifting weights, so what's going on? I've been very, very tired. I've been resting a lot lately, but other than that, you beautiful beings, I'm so excited to get into this topic today. And before we do, I highly suggest, if you haven't watched the mother wound video I did before this one, I highly suggest you go watch that video because it's just as insightful, it's just as important as this video. And the reason why I feel it's very important to talk about the father and the motherly wound, because these very things really shape our lives and the collective and the universe at large. And how is so? And it's because, please understand beforehand, that every single individual on this planet, men and women, hold masculine and feminine energy. Energy is not labeled. Labels are man-made creation in order for us to create divides and categorize us to define our worth. So please understand, gender is a label, but energy is never a label. Energy is everything. So since we understand that we hold feminine, masculine energy, the reason that this is important is because it literally does shape our lives and the entire world. And this is how we're going to get into it. But like I said, if you haven't watched the motherly wound video I did, please go watch that video. It's really going to help you tap into your heart, tap into your feminine energy, and to allow you to understand what love is really all about in order for you to tap into your existence and your creation here. But today, since we're going to be talking about the fatherly wound, what's beautiful about the fatherly wound, it really helps you connect to your physicality of this lifetime, which is your vessel, which is your ego, which is your physicality. As in the motherly wound really helps you connect to your spirituality, your emotions, your intuition, your inner world. And then when you have these two combined, they help create the inner and the outer world, the yin, the yang, the light, the darkness, all of these beautiful things that make up the entire aspect of the universe. But now that you understand that there's a motherly wound, please go watch the video. It's going to be just as insightful as this video. But now let's get into the fatherly wound. Now, what is the fatherly wound? Now, I said in the beginning, this world has been ruled by the toxic masculinity for so many decades, to the point there's a lot of corruption, a lot of war, a lot of greed, a lot of lies, a lot of over assumptions meaning overindulgence, meaning using one another, meaning using things, falling in love with things and using people type of thing. The entire opposite. And I know you guys notice when you're at a certain job, or when how the government works, or you know how the world is operating is so fucking opposite to what we feel we should be doing, is because that is the toxic masculine energy. Toxic masculinity has no sense of focus, no sense of plan. But we're going to get into how you know you have a fatherly wound. But what is the fatherly wound itself? The fatherly wound stems from the fact that you feel like you have no sense of purpose or belonging. So since we're ruled by the toxic masculine energy, all we're striving to do is seek success through seeking validation, seeking purpose, seeking approval through our success, through our hustle, through our hustle and bustle type of thing that we say in society. Because of the way that we have been operating, this is the very reason why we're all in pain. Let's just be honest, we're all in pain. The feminine energy is in rage. The masculine energy is in pain. And this is why we are in the world we are today. It's because we're not aware of these wounds that we're still holding from our childhood. And you might be annoyed by hearing this in the spiritual community. How the fuck is my childhood affecting my adulthood? It does in every way possible. And here is so. This is why I want to talk about the father and the motherly wound, because little do we know, as we grew up, who we are is not really who we're divinely meant to be, who God made us to be. So little do we know, when we come into this lifetime, this 3D reincarnation, little do we know all the beliefs, the labels, the categories, the occupations that we picked up from our childhood, from our parents. We created our identity based off of those perceptions our parents had or our caretakers had that aren't really who we are. So the reason why we feel so discontent in our adulthood is because we're not following our divine truth, because we have built a false identity around perceptions of others and the world outside of us. Ain't that some crazy shit? So this is why I feel it's important to talk about these wounds, because these very wounds, once we can attend to them and heal them and become the parent that we needed growing up, we could finally be who we're meant to be and why God put us here as ourselves. So please go watch The Motherly Wound. That's going to teach you how to love yourself and not have any shame about your inner world. In today's video, this is going to help you have no guilt, no shame, and pure confidence in your physical self, but to be humble in your own power. Since the toxic masculine energy sees power as greed, sees power as wanting to take. And this is why the world is going to destroy itself. We got to be honest, we're going to destroy ourselves if we're not aware of the ego. So since the feminine energy rules the heart and the emotions and the womb, the masculine energy holds the mind, holds ideas. It holds information, while the feminine energy holds creation. Ain't that beautiful? Masculine, information, feminine, creation. Ain't that beautiful? Oh my God, I just love I'm having downloads as I'm doing this video. But let's get into signs that you have a fatherly wound. There's so many, sorry. I had to do that. There's just so goddamn many. Since the toxic masculine energy has been ruling this world for so long. There's just so many. The motherly wound has a lot, but this is just so many. But, all right, so signs that you know you have a fatherly wound is that you overextend yourself. There's two sides of the coin here. The ego really knows how to get what it wants and how to soothe itself in toxic ways, even though it may seem like it's good. It's crazy how the mind works. The way the mind works, it protects you from very experiences and memories and things, but not in a way where you're having a healthy outlet or expression of that very pain or trauma within you. So the ego and the mind, it really works to protect you, but not in a healthy way. So let's get into, but it doesn't know better. The subconscious and the conscious mind does not know better. So this is why it's important to know that you create your own reality, because your subconscious mind really doesn't know the difference between what's real and what is not real. So signs that you know that you have a fatherly wound is that you overextend yourself. You overgive, meaning that you buy people's attention through your money because you think who you are is not good enough. Now, the other coin to this is you overextend yourself by giving too much, and you're too selfish to the point you don't give enough because you're greedy. Now, where these two signs can come from is that you feel like you have to seek the feminine energy for approval, or you feel that the feminine energy has to work for your approval. Ain't that some egotistical fucking shit? In a way where you're in pain and a way where you don't feel anything. It's just weird how that works. Now, more signs that you know you have a fatherly wound is that you lack focus. You really lack focus. Wait, what is it? Yeah, you lack focus. So meaning that some masculines, I've seen this a lot, where they always want to hang out with other masculines, be in their own frame, do the same things they're doing, but they lack no sense of direction for their own life. And the reason why is because you saw a father that didn't know how to hold down a job, didn't have a sense of purpose. You know, everything we learned in our childhood, we believe it's okay, and it is a form of life. So therefore we pick it up as like, oh, this is life, this is right, this is good, when really it's not a true sense of value in your own perception, what you feel is good for your heart. So another sign that you know you have a fatherly wound is that you prove yourself. You overwork yourself because you're trying to prove yourself to seek a sense of validation. And I know this sounds annoying to hear, but the masculine energy really just strive for approval. We strive so much for approval. This is why we strive so much for success, because we think our happiness will come after awards, will come after a woman, will come after the money, when really that only stems from feeling like you felt very inadequate as a child. So another sign that you have a fatherly wound is that you're very over dominant and very controlling, meaning that when it comes to a relationship, you want to dominate the feminine energy, or you want to dominate the other person. And the reason why, this is a clear masculine thing. When you see the prettiest woman in the room and you see a man with her, and all of a sudden you want to assert your dominance, or even when you're in a relationship, you want to assert your dominance to any masculine that's towards a girl or towards your girl because you think they're a threat. Well, that is a clear sign you have a fatherly wound, is that when you find other men a threat and you have to assert your dominance. Now, on the other hand, that really comes from control. If you're over controlling, that's really coming from the fact that you feel like so many things were out of your control as a child that you try to prevent anything outside of your control from having control over you in your adulthood. So that's another sign to know that you have a fatherly wound. Now, let's get into more. What is it? Ooh, this is a big one. This is a huge one for a lot of masculines nowadays. And that is, you lack purpose. And the reason why you lack purpose, and the way this lacking purpose stems from, is instant gratification. You know you have a fatherly wound is that you're always seeking instant gratification. Instantly smoke, instantly fucking, instantly go and hang with friends, easily trying to cope and soothe yourself. It's because you have a lack of focus. Meaning that you have no sense of drive for anything. You have no goals. You have no vision for yourself or for your future. These are all subtle signs that you have a fatherly wound. There are other signs. Oh, a big one. Now, I'm not saying this, like I said, every gender has masculine and feminine energy. But this is a big one. You're overly sexual. I just have to say, you're overly sexual. A clear sign of a fatherly wound is that you're too overly fucking sexual. You always want to have sex. You always crave that. And here's the reason why. Here's the crazy thing. That fatherly wound stems from the fact you lacked nourishment. You lacked the love you needed from a mother or from a caretaker. Like I said, go watch that motherly wound video. But you lack nourishment from a caretaker. And this is why a lot of men seek having sex, because here's the crazy thing. The feminine energy is the closest to God. Hence, her womb is the form of creation to create life. So since she's the closest to God, here's the crazy thing. When you have that orgasm, when you have that sense of liberation with the feminine energy, that feeling you get from an orgasm or from that sensual expression, that's the closest that you will ever get to God. That's the closest you will ever get to euphoria, ecstasy, feeling fucking good. And this is why the masculine energy wants to control that so much, because it doesn't want that to abandon them. And that's the false way of power. It's through control. And it's because you feel like you're not worthy of that type of love. You feel like you're not worthy of love itself. This is why a lot of men, when they go after women and they get rejected, you know, the immediate thing you say, well, fuck you, bitch, you're a hoe. That is a clear sign of pure insecurity. Pure insecurity. Because the masculine doesn't know how to take rejection, is because they don't feel worthy of that love. But when they do get it, they want to try to control it, because they haven't gotten as close to God as they did with the feminine energy through that euphoric experience. So this is why a lot of men try to buy attention. That's why a lot of masculine energies try to exert their dominance, because they want to take. When the masculine energy is really more about a giving, not really a taking energy. So, since now we know these subtle signs that you have a fatherly wound, this all stems from not feeling adequate. That's really all it stems from. It feels like you're not adequate. Like for me, for example, my father gave me a lot of fucking tough love growing up. A lot of fucking tough love. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. The way you think, there's something wrong with it, you know? I just heard very hurtful fucking things that didn't make me feel good enough. So I had to learn in my own life. I strived so hard for success and so much in different avenues of business and income, is because I didn't feel good enough. Like having a job wasn't enough, you know, being myself wasn't enough. So I had to prove myself through success, prove myself through work, prove myself as in I'm better than my own father. So realizing my own wound helped me dissect the very things that I needed to do in order to heal the fatherly wound. So now that we know the signs of the fatherly wound, how will this help you in order to heal the fatherly wound? Well, we got 4 ways to heal the fatherly wound. And this is going to be a big one for a lot of masculines out there, because I know you want to be tough, you want to be big, you want to be strong. But here's the thing. For me, for instance, a real sign of a true divine masculine is someone who honors their imperfections and their perfections. Meaning that they know their confidence. They know how their ego is, since the ego is of the flesh. The ego is of the physicality. They know the worth of it, but they don't allow it to rule them. They're not guided by that greed of seeking, oh, I'm entitled to this, I'm entitled to that, because look at me, look at what I have, look at this, look at that type of thing. You know, that type of mentality. So a real sign of a divine masculine is someone who is humble about their energy, knows their worth, but knows how to really extend, give, and knows how to receive in a complimentary way. So let's get into the 4 ways you can heal the fatherly wound. And the first way is, it's very different from the motherly wound. But the first sign is pure acceptance. It takes a lot for a man to accept his reality. Now, I know I just said men, but sorry, let me say masculine. It takes a lot for us to accept where our reality is, because we're seeking and striving for purpose for so much we feel like we don't have it now. So we have to accept our reality the way that it is. We have to accept our flaws, accept our mistakes, accept the fact that there are some parts that we regret about our lives, some things we feel guilty for. We have to accept our reality the way that it is, because we made the power in creating it. And this is why I want to explain that the feminine energy, the motherly wounds, that the motherly energy itself is all about feeling safe in the confinements of who you are. The masculine energy is all about feeling grounded and feeling stable in what they have. So a lot of masculines out there, you have to accept where you're not happy, where you fucked up, where is like life not where you want it to be. Because with acceptance comes the next one to way to heal the fatherly wound, and now there's accountability. A lot of masculines out there have a hard time taking accountability. If you realize out there, a lot in the world of politicians, in the workforce, a lot of masculines. I even heard a story the other day, which I actually want to share with you guys. Where did I hear it from? I was watching a show called Change the Mind, I would possibly say, on Netflix. It was all about psychedelics. and how psychedelics know how to go into the body and heal trauma. So what I found really magnificent was that there was a guy explaining how his father, wasn't a documentary, it was a movie, Red Notice, my ass. Red Notice with Ryan Reynolds. I don't know where I got that from. Right, someone needed to hear that psychedelic one, so go watch that on Netflix. But okay, so Red Notice, when Ryan Reynolds told the story to Dwayne about how his father had this precise watch from the Nazis, and he lost it and thought Ryan Reynolds took it from him as a child. Didn't talk to him for a whole year. Ryan Reynolds comes home one day and sees the watch right on his dad's wrist. This is a clear sign of gaslighting, where the dad says, no apology whatsoever for a whole fucking year of not talking to him and blaming his son. Instead of apologizing, he goes and says, how was your day? How was your day? How was your day? Ryan Reynolds didn't talk to him after that. Because you didn't talk to me for a whole year and blamed me, made me feel inadequate, made me feel like something was wrong with me for your own arrogance or for your own obliviousness, and therefore you're not going to take accountability. That's a clear sign of gaslighting. When someone does something to you and it make it seem like they did nothing, so there's something wrong with you. That's a clear sign of gaslighting. That right there is a clear sign of the fatherly energy, of the fatherly wound, of how there's no accountability taken. We have to take accountability for when we fuck up. We have to take accountability when we regret. We have to take accountability when we are guilty. And this is why the masculine energy is the way that it is today, is because we feel so entitled to things, but yet we don't want to take accountability for our own fuck-ups. And they're so important, because when you learn to accept where your reality is, you're able to take accountability. When you take accountability for your life and for your actions, what you're doing, you're telling the universe and you're telling God, I know I had a say in this and I know I create my reality, but now that I'm taking accountability, I want to change my life. I want to change where I am. And that's where we get into the next step, and that is a vulnerability. The third way to heal the fatherly wound is through vulnerability. And this is where a lot of masculines have a hard time, because you were taught to be toughen up, eat some grass, eat some dirt, eat some grass. Grass is good for you though. Grass is good for you. But eat some dirt. You're a boy, you're a man, stop crying, only girls cry, This has really caused the masculine to turn toxic. And this is why we have more love over things than people. This is why we use people rather than get curious about them. This is why we only are selfish and think about self and greedy, because we want to hold the power, because vulnerability will get us hurt. This is why the masculine energy has a hard time being vulnerable. It's because they think they will get hurt, and they don't want to get hurt by expressing how they really feel. And this is how you can overextend yourself, and this is how you cannot extend yourself to the point you're only sabotaging your own goodness in your life. And well, that's just how the cycle goes. But that is the third way to heal the fatherly wound, is taking accountability. That was the second one. Vulnerability. Be vulnerable about how you feel in a relationship. Be vulnerable about how people are treating you. Be vulnerable when you fuck up. Own up to yourself. Stand up to yourself and own up to yourself. This is the only way you can heal the fatherly wound. So you know that you're expressing what needs to be said because you care about yourself, but you know you got to humble yourself and take in what you need to learn. And that is another thing, being vulnerable and being open of learning and being open of releasing. It takes grieving. A lot of masculines need to have the vulnerability to grieve, to feel, to cry. You have a heart too. The same way all of us have buttholes, legs, arms, we all have a fucking heart. We are designed to feel. Now, the last way to heal the fatherly wound, and this is the most important one, and that is, this differentiates from a man and father. And that is, become your own father. Now, you may think, like, a father is a man. No. Any man can take care of a baby. It takes a father to take care of a kid. What does this mean to become the father in order to heal your fatherly wound? Meaning that instead of allowing your toxic masculinity to drive you, to allow your ego, to allow your fears to drive you in the toxicity, recognize what example did your father set? Now, if you didn't have a father, if you had an older brother, what example did they set? Was it an example that you want to live by? Was an example that helped you feel safe? Was an example that helped you feel like you are adequate? And if none of that was an example of what you want to follow, then that is your work of what an example a father should be. And when you find that example what a father should be, you have to become that to yourself. Meaning you have to find healthy outlets to express yourself. That's why a lot of masculines I know do a lot of music, do a lot of rapping, do a lot of writing, because they express themselves. You got to find healthy outlets to express yourself. What is your joy? What is your happiness? What are things you've been putting off that you truly find passion in, regardless of what people think? A lot of masculines care a lot about what people think. But now, in order to heal the fatherly wound, to become your own father, you have to become a completely different opposite version of your own father. And then be that now and realize, who would I want my kid, my inner child, to really be? Who are they really? Who are them? Become so curious about your inner child that all of a sudden you start merging with it. All of a sudden you start learning from it. All of a sudden you start formulating from it. All of a sudden you start recognizing that you don't recognize who you are, because you're finally discovering who you really are without your father projecting his pain onto you, without him telling you you're inadequate, without him giving you tough love. You get what I'm saying? So, and here's the thing, for a lot of my feminines out there, you may not have a father, but you may have a mother in their masculine energy, very, very, very potent in their masculine energy. This still resonates with you guys as well. So you guys, that's all I wanted to share with you today. Understanding the fatherly wound, how it affects today's collective, and 4 ways to heal it, and also being aware of those signs, knowing that you have a fatherly wound. And I guarantee you, being aware of these signs, doing this inner work, healing the fatherly wound, you'll be so amazed on how you understand how doing this inner work really does intertwine with the collective, with your life, with your childhood. It will all make sense of how all of this makes a story that you end up discovering, oh, I want to add a new chapter to this. I want to add something different to it. So other than that, beautiful beings, if you haven't watched the motherly wound video, it's going to be up here or it's going to be at the end of this video. But if you found any insight, any variables that really did help you and brought in some clarity for you, let me know your feedback in the comment section below, because my whole goal on this channel is to build a community so we're all interacting with each other and we're all on this journey together. But if you did find a lot of insights and a lot of clarity, hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And make sure you hit that notification button so you won't miss out on any videos. And again, if you want any of my healing sessions, book a healing with me, book a personal reading, or get access to my healing course or my merch, all that information is down in the description box below. And as for you, precisely my divine masculines, I do have a 6-week program precisely just for any female or any male that wants to work towards their masculine energy. And this will help you create a deeper connection to your ego and to your physicality. Other than that, beautiful things, I love you guys so much, and I really hope this video helps. And I'll see you on the next one.